The final seconds.
Folks on Twitter again are questioning the trade for Mitchell, believing that the Cavs' 20th ranked offense, led by Garland and the three bigs last year, is superior to this year's 9th ranked offense with Mitchell. So, are they right? Has the season been worse? Would the team actually be up 3-1 with Markkanen, Sexton, and Ochai?
Well, we like to provide comedy here on the podcast, especially now. It's a dark time if you're a fan of the Cavaliers, so we found this to be pretty humorous and we wanted to share in the joke. But no, obviously this is kind of the reason why the internet doesn't always have utility, or that people having the ability to get on and talk about stuff doesn't always mean that they should. And I understand the irony here if I say something stupid. People are thinking that we would somehow be better without the player that took us to the playoffs this year. Donovan Mitchell has been in the playoffs 6 years in a row. He's led this team every step of the way. Yes, granted, it's the regular season, and there is some ease to the regular season compared to the playoffs. But we wouldn't even really be having this conversation. We would have been watching another play-in, possibly, and most likely a loss there. The idea that we would be a more fun or more engaging offense to watch without Mitchell is just ridiculous. I think that it's easy for people to dump on the low-hanging fruit, or to pick the low-hanging fruit, let's say, when disappointment sets in. And we, of course, have been disappointed as well. These last couple of games have been pretty hard to watch. But I have to remind myself, as I've said in other episodes prior, that this season was about experimentation and finding what works. And unfortunately, we've discovered pretty quickly that we don't have what works in the playoffs, most likely. So, oh well, fun season, but difficult to watch us lose to the Knicks in this way. That doesn't mean that Mitchell being gone or Mitchell never coming here would have been a better outcome. I think the things we've tackled in this episode are more appropriate. What players can be added to the team, or frankly, what coaching additions or subtractions might need to be made. But Donovan Mitchell is the only reason why we are in the playoffs again for the first time in 5 years.
The internet is what it is. The Twitterverse is frustrating at times. I think that it's kind of like what you said. When disappointment sets in, people tend to then write out stuff that you don't really need to write out. People can be really spiteful, or if they want to raise good points and have conversations, it's hard to do that because it's the internet and you're especially using that horrible site in Twitter. And we use it for our podcast because we have to. It's frustrating. You have to remember what this team looked like last year and compare it to what it looks like right now. And if you honestly wanted to match up Markkanen, Sexton, and Ochai right now with the Cavs, on the Cavs against the Knicks, we still would probably be getting out-rebounded, because that was a huge issue that we had last year with Markkanen, is he would get out-rebounded regularly. It's why Kevin Love was brought in off the bench, is a guy who was also 7 foot, couldn't rebound well. So we would be even, I feel like, doubly irate, because it'd be like, we have 3 7-footers, we should never be out-rebounded. Sexton, I don't know if you remember this, Adam, but Sexton wasn't good at guarding people. So he would be getting cooked left and right by these Knicks players. I think that Sexton is a good guy. I think that he is a better player than I'm saying right now. But Brunson probably would be playing and toying with him all series. And Ochai is an unknown. So, yeah, okay, maybe he is that consistent shooter off the bench for us that we don't have, except we'd be down by 15 the whole game anyway. So, people just, it's frustrating for us when we, like you mentioned, have watched 80 games. We've watched over 160 some games of Cavs basketball these last 2 years, and I know that we're young pups compared to other podcasters who follow this team. And I just respect a lot of other folks' opinions who have written about the team, who have watched more games, who might just put a little more perspective on whether or not what's happening with this team. And I think ultimately the major disappointment for me that ties into this last statement, this last question, is really it's down to the coaching staff. Because the fact of the matter is there's no reason our offense should be less dynamic when you have a player like Donovan Mitchell. Who is that on? That's on the coaches to make sure that the offense gets more dynamic as opposed to less. So, coaching's got to improve.
Thank you for listening to the Cavaliers Basketball Club podcast. Let's go Cavs!